Hi everyone, it's Allen with Earthglow. Welcome back to another new video. In today's video, I'm going to be unboxing these, using these for the first time. These are new concrete molds that I got from Boowann Nicole. If you guys haven't heard of this company, they have like hundreds and hundreds of concrete molds. These actually came with a little like silicone thing to make them into planters if you want to as well. We're definitely going to be using these for candles today. So this first one here, I'm really excited about. There are two that were kind of shaped like planters, and I'll have all the ones that I'm using linked in the description box for you guys if you want to check them out. This was the Macaron one. I'm really excited for that one as well. But yeah, there's two different ridged candle jars that are called like plant pots, but you don't have to use them as plant pots. They just end up looking like really cool candle jars from what the photos look like. And then they come with these clips here that you're supposed to be able to clip onto the side of the container, so that way it reinforces the silicone. Kind of like Modern Craft Labs has when they have those little black 3D printed things that you put around the candles, just to kind of keep the silicone reinforced. So I'm doing a voiceover here, and I started like this where I was clipping them onto the sides at first, which I thought would be a good idea because the silicone for these is a little bit softer than like the Modern Craft Labs. So I thought giving it more of a sturdy support would be better, but it ended up not being very good. So you guys will see me remove these once I start trying to pour the candle in when it's not going so well. And then I did also get a couple of different like tray molds as well. They were kind of like freeform trays, which I thought would be really nice in the candle world for putting your wick trimmers or putting like your candle. Like if you make concrete candles like me, you could set the candle on top of one of these trays. So that was something kind of exciting as well that we're gonna try out. And then their molds do come with lids, which I thought was really cool. Modern Craft Labs, you have to buy the lids like separately. So I'm just starting off with 3 cups of concrete in here. I am going to be using cement all with some titanium dioxide like I normally do, just to lighten the color up a little bit. And just using a tablespoon of the titanium dioxide. Now my favorite TD is the water soluble from Wholesale Supplies Plus. That is the one that I kind of swear by. But this titanium dioxide I got from Glob Marble that I'm using today, and it's not my favorite. You guys will see why later in the video maybe, but I would not recommend Glob Marble's titanium dioxide. So what I normally like to do is just mix the titanium dioxide in my dry cement all prior to adding the water, and that just kind of helps it to incorporate a little bit better. But like I said, the one that I'm using from Glob Marble right now, I would not recommend it whatsoever, unfortunately. It just left some spots you'll see in the final vessels that I wasn't very happy with. But I'll link the one that I enjoy from Wholesale Supplies Plus for you guys, because that is the one that I absolutely swear by. It's their water-soluble titanium dioxide. And then I wanted to also try these with some of the paints, the acrylic paints that I love from Deco Art. So I'm just giving this a really good mix with some distilled water, as I always do. And then I wanted to use this rose gold from Deco Art. Now I love mixing this with the champagne gold. These are 2 of my all-time favorite concrete colors. I do also love the rose gold from Folk Art as well as the Deco Art rose gold. So just kind of giving that a very light mix and swirl. And the secret with this is to have a slightly more thin batter when you're doing the acrylic paints, because the paint colors will thicken your batter. And in order to get it to pour, it has to be a little bit more thin than you would otherwise do. And the challenge with the Macaron mold is there's not a lot of space between the top of the mold and the edge of like the silicone. And so unfortunately it was very easy to over pour this one. Now you guys are going to see how good the final product turns out. So I would definitely still use this mold. It just takes a little bit more finagling sort of to get it to work out the way that I like. And what I like to do is to fill the molds almost all the way, and then I will pretty much go back through and top them all off, so that way I can get as many poured as possible with the same consistency pretty much, because of how fast the stuff starts to set up. So I did go ahead and remove the outside because it was definitely a lot easier. But like I said, the silicone with these is gonna be, it's not quite as thick as the Modern Craft Labs silicone, but it's definitely still, I feel like, a really nice quality, especially when you use the reinforcements, which I would definitely recommend for these. So this is the lid to the macaron mold, and you guys, I can't wait to show you how this turns out at the end. Now, fair warning, I did end up doing this twice because the first time I wasn't entirely thrilled with some aspects of my process, and so I did this a second time, and I have it all filmed for you in one convenient video just so you can kind of learn from some of my mistakes as well. So just going back through and topping these guys off. But the macaroon mold is definitely, I would say, the most difficult to work with just because of how little space there is between the top of the mold and the edge of the silicone. And then I'm gonna be doing the rest of these next. So we have these really neat tray molds, and you guys are gonna see how cool the trays are that come from these. I had been looking for a mold like this for a really long time, so I'd used the Amazon tray molds, which are just kind of your simple, classic, oval tray. But these, you guys, are so interesting to me. They're like freeform almost, and very abstract, artistic. They just look so modern and dreamy when they come out. So just doing the same process with the TD and the water. And I'm going in with my Deco Art, Rose Gold, and my Champagne Gold. And I like to add one pigment at a time, or one paint at a time, and then just give a light swirl like that. And you can kind of play around with the different patterns that you get when you do this. What I would recommend though is not over swirling. So definitely swirl less than you think you need to with these acrylic paints. Because when you go to pour them into the mold, the act of like pouring itself is going to do a lot of the swirling for you. So if you swirl too much when you're in the silicone bowl, your paint will likely just get lost when you go to pour. And then the other trick is having a thinner consistency than you would otherwise, like if you're just using regular cement all or cement all with concrete pigments. When you're using acrylic paint, you want, I would say, we always talk about like pancake consistency. You want it a little bit less than that if you want the paints to really show up, or they'll just kind of go to the inside, is what I notice. And if you guys can see off to the side, I have like a little spoon rest thing that's made entirely out of silicone, as well as this little black spatula, again made entirely out of silicone. And those are two of my favorite products to use to get out clumps if they appear at the top, or to set my tools on, because they're so easy to clean up, and it just helps with having a more sustainable process environmentally. So I'll have those linked below for you guys. I just get them on Amazon. Super inexpensive, but very, very practical, I would say. Because if you use like a chopstick or something, you're gonna end up basically throwing that away almost every few times, or if you use a spoon, I guess that could work, but you'd have to clean it up really fast, and I feel like silicone is just so much easier if you have something all silicone to clean. So this is the challenge, is like getting this very top portion, and you guys are probably better at this than me, but I struggle with, so my goal is to get it like totally flush right at the top, because that's going to minimize the amount of sanding that you have to do. I think that looks really good. And then what I will do as well is add a little bit more paint after I pour, usually after each vessel, because the paint normally flows into like your first 1 to maybe 2 vessels. So adding just a little bit more paint in between really helps to be able to have all the vessels that you pour have the beautiful acrylics show up, the metallic paints. So this tray mold, I would definitely recommend just pouring it like maybe halfway, even less than I did here, because you want to make sure that you're able to tap it sufficiently. Sorry about the focusing there. My camera wanted to focus on my shirt apparently. But yeah, you want to pour it like very, very, like maybe like halfway at first, and then go back in after you've done all the tapping and pour it the rest of the way. This one still, I think, will turn out pretty good, but the silicone, because it's like a little bit more floppy, you definitely need to take, I would say, some slightly additional precautions to make sure that you are able to get all the air bubbles out, like with these trays especially. So this is the lid mold for the ribbed vessel that you can see to the right of it. And I really think it's nice that this company includes lids with the mold itself. Like, I think Modern Craft Labs charges maybe an extra $30 or so for a lid on average. I could be wrong about that, but they're very expensive normally. And this company just includes it right with the mold. So I'm just going in and I'm gonna mix up a little bit more because, as you guys can see, I ran out of batter, which sometimes happens. And for me personally, like when I'm just doing the cement all with the titanium dioxide like this, it really is okay, because I can measure out pretty precisely what I'm doing. So I put a cup in there of the cement all, and then I'm gonna just put, I would say I'll put like a 3/4 or so of a tablespoon. And then I'm gonna just give this a nice mix. So this tray mold that we're about to pour, this is for the larger tray, and they both kind of have this border to them that you're gonna see in a little bit that is, it's so abstract. Like, it looks almost like you're in a cloud or something. I really enjoy the aesthetic of these trays, and I haven't found anything like them from any other companies at this point. So comment down below if you guys are concrete makers, where you like to get your silicone molds from, because I'm always curious like what else is out there. And I really wanted to try this company because I'd heard the Up Vibe talking about them. And if you guys haven't checked out his channel, he's got a lot of fantastic content for concrete candle makers as well. But he's used Boowann Nicole a few times, and I thought, why not just give this company a try and see how these molds are. All right, so what I'm trying to do here is make a little bit of a thinner batter for pouring this really big tray. And I have tested my amounts out before where I like weigh them to the gram and everything. And the thickness that I normally like to use is way, way, way like in the safe range for Cementol. I think they recommend like a 4-to-1 mixture. It's like 4 parts Cementol to 1 part water or something, or maybe it's 3-to-1. But it's ridiculously liquid compared to even my most liquid mix. I think I averaged mine at like a 5.625 to 1 cement all to water. So it's definitely, even my more liquidy ones are on the thicker side in terms of the safe range of this product for stability reasons. Okay, so I'm gonna just make sure this is smooth, and then we're gonna let these guys sit. I normally do like at least 3 hours, and when I have acrylic paints, I'll let them sit usually like, I'd say like 5 hours or more, because if you think about it, the paint itself hasn't fully dried for quite a while. Like if you want to not have the acrylic paint still wet, you need to wait at least like 5 hours. So this, I think the next day for me, I had a lot of other stuff I needed to do. But this one is the smaller tray mold, and you guys can see how cool this is. Now ignore the slight titanium dioxide spots on there. That is from the one from Glob Marble that, like I said, I don't enjoy, that TD. But the tray itself, I think, is stunning. And this is the circular tray. So this one is kind of a similar design, but it's more of a circle. The thickness and the border of these are just, I feel like they're so dreamy. So this one has the rose gold and the champagne gold, and I absolutely love how it turned out. You can see, unfortunately, a little bit of the titanium dioxide spots on there. There's just like one or two. So then I'll go on the bottom and just kind of peel any edges off that I'm able to. And this just helps when you're sanding, because the product is still a little bit damp right now. There's still a lot of water content in it, so it's easier to do this now than, you know, after it's fully hardened in about a week. Okay, so I'm gonna take this guy out here, and this mold, I'll put the name of it on the screen for you guys. I absolutely am obsessed with this mold, you guys. This has to be, it's such a beautiful, like, just piece of art to have in your house, I feel like. Now, I'm not happy with how this turned out in terms of the, like, the paint on the sides. So you can see how it's a little bit bumpy like that. Usually that's just because, no, there can be a number of reasons, but possibly for me, the batter was a little bit more thin than it otherwise might be. And then I'm gonna put the name up of this one on the screen for you guys as well. But this is a very similar mold design, but it's slightly different. And you'll see how when I get this out that it's different. So you see how it has a little bit more like defined edges. It's not totally round on the bottom portion, but it's still very similar to the other one. And I can't decide which one. I think I like the other one a little bit more, the one I just demolded before this. But I'm obsessed with both. So you guys are gonna see what I do to these to kind of make up for that inconsistency on the sides of the vessel with the titanium dioxide. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. It's just the TD is not the one I prefer at all. So I'm throwing out the rest of my bag from Glob Marble. I love their concrete pigments, but not titanium dioxide. All right, so this is the ridge mold that I'm gonna do, and this was one of the ones I was most excited for. I've been wanting a mold like this for so long, you guys, and I absolutely love how this one came out. This mold was pretty easy to use as well. I will say that you definitely want to make sure you tap quite a bit, because there's a lot of little spots where bubbles can form, but I felt like I did pretty good on this one. I don't see too many bubbles, but it definitely needs a little bit of sanding at the bottom. And for something like this, I do generally sand with like a pottery wheel and a diamond sanding disc that I have mounted to the pottery wheel, but you definitely wouldn't need to use something that fancy. You could just use a piece of sandpaper, like one of those blocks of sandpaper. I love this with the lid too. I'm just upset that my lid has like titanium dioxide splotches, but that has nothing to do with the molds. It's just, you guys will see what I do at the end to these to kind of make it look a little bit nicer. And this was the lid to the Macaron mold. It's a really heavy lid. That did kind of surprise me, so I feel like for shipping purposes, this one would kind of weigh quite a bit. but when you guys see it on the top of this guy, like, I feel like it's worth it. And you could also just encourage people, like I always do with my concrete, to use it for, you could put cotton balls in there, you could put a plant in there. For this one though, I feel like it'd be nice to utilize the lid in some way because it's so, like, it looks so good on the vessel. Okay, so this was definitely the trickiest mold. The base portion, look at this, you guys. Oh, I'm so obsessed. It looks so good. The metallics didn't really show very well though. So anyways, I'm redoing these and I'm having a slightly different strategy this time. And you guys will see that I think it works out a little bit better overall. I'm going with an even thinner batter, of course, still within the acceptable rates for this product. And I only know that because I've measured it out so many times that I just kind of have a good gauge in my head. But if you are not confident with that, if you've not made, thousands of these like I have, definitely measure it out and kind of get that gauge to what your ratios should be in terms of safety measures so that you don't compromise the stability of your product. All right, so the one thing I did wrong here though is I used the same titanium dioxide again, thinking that it would be better if I mixed it even more, which isn't the case. So like I said, definitely avoid glob marbles, titanium dioxide, at least with cement all. There's no way that I've been able to get it to work out. But I'm really trying to mix this stuff, you guys. Like, I even cut some of the footage out, but I mixed this for like probably close to 10 minutes in the dry pigment. And I always do that with whether I'm using titanium dioxide or concrete pigments. I just find that it really helps it to be easier to incorporate when you go and add the water in. I do always use distilled water for this just because tap water has a lot more different minerals and things in it, and those can interfere with the look of your final product. Sometimes they can create like kind of streaking and things that you would otherwise maybe not find aesthetically desirable. So I'm going with an even thinner batter is my goal with this one, to see if it helps me to get into some of these molds a little bit better than I did the first time. And I have this like 20 times speed, so you guys can see I got it a little bit thinner than I was comfortable with, so I added just a little bit more batter there. And I'm adding the same combination of Deco Art Rose Gold and Deco Art Champagne Gold with this one. I just wanted to see if I could try tapping a little bit more. I didn't get too many air bubbles. I just wanted to try a little bit of a different strategy with these molds. So overall, slightly thinner batter. And I wanted to get more of my metallics to show up as well because I felt like in several of the molds, I wasn't able to get the metallics to show as much as I wanted to. All right, so this is the ridge mold that we're pouring here. Or I'm sorry, the macaron mold. The hardest one to pour, for sure. So you see how you need to get it so thin because it takes it a really long time to kind of flow down into this mold because of how little space there is. So I don't know if that's something that they could change in future versions of this mold, but that would be my recommendation if that's possible. So Boowann Nicole, if you're watching this, if you guys can make your macaron mold have a little bit more space there between the bottom and the lip of this mold, that would be great. I think they have another macaron mold as well. I'm not entirely sure, but I think they have one that's slightly larger. This one I feel like would hold quite a bit of wax. All right, and then I'm just doing these guys again as well. And you guys can see I'm wearing my fancy mask here. I'll have the mask that I like to use linked below. It's really important with Cementol that you wear a proper mask, at least an N95. I would recommend this one that I'm wearing now, which is an asbestos grade mask with these pink filters. It's gonna keep you much safer. Cementol has the composition contains about 30% or more silica, which if you guys know anything about that, when that stuff is airborne, when you're mixing the batter, it can be really dangerous to breathe that in because our lungs don't actually have a way of filtering that out very well. So once it's on your lungs, like as in from repeated exposures, usually it can cause things like silicosis, increase your risk for lung cancer, just a lot of stuff that we generally want to avoid. And the same goes true for people who do pottery. So potters are definitely, they used to call it potter's lung back in the day, and it's something that you can prevent by wearing proper PPE and keeping your studio clean. So you always want to do things with water as opposed to like dry sanding for that reason. And I may make a whole video on this for you guys, but that's why I don't sand this stuff dry, because you want to minimize that airborne crystalline silica as much as possible just to protect your lungs. And not a lot of people are talking about that with this product, but I think that it's really, really important. Alright, so just finishing off the tops on these guys. I'm trying to get them as flush as I can with the top of the silicone molds, which can definitely be challenging. Mixing up a little bit more batter here. I sped some of this up so you guys could get to the final result a little bit quicker in this one and see how these come out. But again, overall, just a slightly thinner batter than the last time, and using a little bit more metallics maybe, and definitely trying to tap even more. I just want those metallics to really flow, and I want them to show up a bit more in the final product. Another thing that I think is important to mention with Cementol is that you want to make sure with this product that you're using it at the right temperature range. So if you get, like, I would say under 45 or 50 degrees, maybe even 60, this stuff takes a lot longer to set up. So I'm doing these, I'm from Michigan, and I'm in my garage here, and it's like the month of April. So weather is kind of unpredictable. So I made sure to make these on a day when I knew the forecast was going to be at least like 50 degrees. And when it's at the cooler end of this stuff, like I'd say like 50, 60, even 65, you want to let it set up even longer. So normally I leave this stuff like 3 hours, but at these temperatures, I think I left it like 7 or 8 hours, especially like I said with the acrylic paint, because you want to make sure that that gets all the way solidified. Another reason why I do kind of like Hydrostone, because it sets up a lot quicker. So the longer the stuff sits in your molds, the more it degrades them, unfortunately. And concrete is already the most abrasive material for these silicone molds. So definitely it's important to buy them from like reputable companies like Modern Craft Labs. Boowann Nicole, I think, is definitely reputable. Shape Maker is a great company. And then there's some molds on Amazon that are pretty decent as well. But I would say that if you're using something like Hydrostone, even though the product is more expensive, it can be an investment because it's so much better for your concrete molds to not have the product sitting in them as long. But I have said briefly, and this is my biggest challenge with Hydrostone, and if you guys have gotten it to work for this, definitely let me know. But I have not gotten it to work well with the metallic paints. And the metallics are something that I really, really enjoy. I'd say that's like one of my favorite things about doing concrete. I love doing like the swirl patterns as well, when you have the two different colors and kind of swirl them. But the metallics, oh my gosh, you guys, it's like my heart and soul with concrete. And when I use Hydrostone for those, it just hasn't worked out very well for me at all. And that, I would say, is a big disappointment. And so like when I've tried it with Hydrostone, it just gets so hot, because I feel like that material, it sets up a lot quicker. When I've measured the temperatures when the product itself is setting up, it gets to much higher temperatures than Cementol. And so then when I go to demold, what ends up happening is the acrylic paint just like peels off. So I'm not entirely sure why that is, but It's definitely a challenge that I've had with Hydrostone when trying to use the metallic paints. And I have not found a good workaround. I think the one thing that I've been trying with Hydrostone is to use less in general, like less metallic, and just give it a very light dusting, because I feel like in that material, less shows up more with the metallics. But then again, I'm still getting that where it just peels off entirely and you're left with like a very small fraction of what you originally applied. Anyways, we're gonna demold these. This is like, I think this is like 8 or 9 hours later. Look at how good this one came out, you guys. So this is with the rose gold. I was really happy with this. Now, you do still see like a few specks of cement or of the titanium dioxide, but just try to ignore that and just avoid glob marble for that product, unfortunately. And like I said, I'll have the wholesale supplies plus one that I use linked below. It does not do this. But yeah, very happy with that overall. And then this is the irregular shaped tray, the non-circular one. And this one, again, ignore that titanium dioxide. I feel like turned out really good. There's like no air bubbles. And the metallic was coming through pretty well, I felt like. So definitely even thinner consistency than I thought. And I'm gonna take out these next. I'm so excited for this one. I can't remember when I'm doing this voiceover how this guy came out, but I feel like it was pretty good. So these are the two pots, but you could absolutely use them for candles. And then this is the ribbed mold, and then this is the macaron mold. So, and I'll have all these linked below. And I think I also asked them if I could have a discount code for you guys. So if you use the discount code that I have in the description box, you save, I don't know, I think it's like 10 or 15%. It doesn't give me anything back. It's not an affiliate code. It's just a discount code for you guys that I reached out and asked if they'd be willing to provide for me. All right. So this next one here, this is the more rounded one on the sides. I apologize that I'm like half in the camera on this. It's very hard in my garage to film these videos. I need to come up with like a better setup for filming for you guys, but I'm doing my best here. So thanks for bearing with me. Yeah, okay, so this one I don't think it had as much as I expected. I'm just turning my molds back the right direction. You don't want to leave them like inverted because it can kind of cause them to deform and sometimes even rip really quickly. So yeah, this guy, okay, I mean, it was okay, right? Like you're definitely seeing the paint, but I kind of wish there was even more. I'm going to show you guys what I do at the end of these though, this video. I was just playing around with some different techniques and I think it actually turned out really good. So stay tuned to the end to see what I end up doing. This is the ridge mold. And this one, I feel like this one turned out pretty good. This one has mostly the rose gold. Yeah, I love this mold. Definitely needs some sanding on the bottom, but overall, pretty happy with that. And in terms of wicking these, I didn't actually make candles in this video. My starting recommendation, you guys know I love the CDN wicks. I would recommend double wicking all of these vessels that I have. And I would recommend starting with 2 CDN2s, like for the ridge mold. And for the wider, the pot molds, I would recommend starting with 2 CDN3s. And that would be with like cocoa apricot cream or the soy bliss /7/CB2 is what it's really called. That would be my starting recommendation. So this is the macaroon mold. Again, the one that I'm absolutely determined to get it to work out for me, but it's so challenging. And to clean these, you guys, I would definitely, after you've got everything unmolded, take them and you can just wipe them out with a paper towel and some water, and then leave them to dry like upside down, but not inverted. All right, so this one, it still didn't work out as well as I would have wanted, but it's a little bit better, I think. And then this is the lid for the macaroon here. This thing could be like a coaster. Oh my god, I was so happy with this. Look! Oh my goodness, you guys. That is what I live for. Alright, I love that. Yes! Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm so obsessed with this. And then you guys can see I did pour like a little shell tray and a Ginko tray. These are Amazon molds. This did not work out. This mold is so hard, you guys. So it's a little easier with a thicker batter or with Hydrostone, but this one, it turned out really good, but then I always end up snapping the bottom portion, try to pull this thing off, and then I just like snapped it. I shook the camera there too, but unfortunately, yeah, this did not work out. Would have been really pretty. But when I have extra batter, I usually keep a couple molds back and I'll pour my extra batter into those molds. So I also have like a shell tray here. And I'll put links to the shell tray as well as the Ginko from Amazon in the description box of this video as well. The shell tray is definitely much easier. I feel like the Ginko is so challenging. I've done it successfully a number of times, but I've also had lots of challenges, as you can see. The main one being that you snap off that kind of back piece. So I'm going to show you guys, once I get this shell unmolded, I'm going to be letting these sit for about a week. That's usually what I find to make sure all the water is evaporated. But you can always check by weighing the piece each day, and once it stops changing in weight, then you know that the water has finished evaporating and that's your final piece. Oh my goodness, I'm so obsessed with these, you guys. Okay, so this is the results straight out of the molds after about a week, and then I'm going to show you guys what I do. Let me know if you'd like to see how I do these techniques. I just kind of came up with them, so I didn't film it, but oh my god, this is the final result for the one that had the titanium dioxide. I am so obsessed, and then I did the same thing to this one. It was a super easy technique. Let me know if you guys want a video on how I did this. You're gonna be shocked at how easy it is. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. And then I did add just a little bit more sparkle to this one. Slightly different technique. Not sure that I like how this turned out, but it was fun. Definitely not that thrilled with how this one turned out. When it hits the light just right, it's beautiful, but when it doesn't, it kind of has a weird aesthetic to it, I think. I'm not crazy about it. But, you know, it's all in the name of experimentation. I loved how this one turned out, though. Like, it just looks almost like a paint splash. It has that kind of industrial, modern aesthetic to it. And these are all pretty much the same technique. Super obsessed. This one was straight out of the mold. I decided not to do anything with it. And then this one is straight out of the mold as well. Oh yeah, I actually added a little bit of paint over that titanium dioxide spot there, but mostly straight out of the mold. This one features the technique I kind of was playing around with. Anyways, that's going to be all for today. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And I'm sending all of you peace, love, and light. And I hope you guys are able to check out some of these molds. I'll leave the description, or I'll leave the link in the description for you guys to the Boowann Nicole molds, and the discount code for you as well. Peace, love, and light. I would like to take the time to thank my patrons for their incredible support. A massive shout out goes to Wendy, Nicole Rott, Nancy with All About Me Beauty Bar, Merle, Brad with Neon City Scents, Michelle, Paula, Zara with Crystalline Candle Co., Julie with Belux Candle Co., Jennifer with Bea Essentials, Selena with Banbury Street Creations, Sue, Nick, Bruce, Flavia, Jennifer with Bittersweet Candle Co., Danielle, Anitra with Ninth and Maxwell, Matthew, Jindy, Lisa, Elizabeth, Carol, Cheryl with Soaps by Cheryl, Maya, Losa, Luz Dottie, Daichi, John with Past Sense Candles, Angela, Amber, Bluegrass Bath and Candle Co., Marketer with the Beat Institute, Allie, Carla, Todd with Cold Creek Candle Co., Krista SS, Karen with River Birch Soaps, Kina with Kijoli, Angela, Amanda, Denise with Grumblegeist Candle Co., She's More, Cindy, Kim, Teresa, Frida, Shiromi, J Creative P, Colette, Nicole, Stella, Leanne, Martha, Angela, Jamie, Chadwick, Z, Mabel, Arev, Bobby, Jamie, Amy with Candle Emporium, Stephanie, Honey, Terry, Maria, Genevieve, Gracie, Yolanda, Tonya, Susan, Irene, Rolanda with Mason Marzette, Megan, Melissa, Ursulette with Ursulette's Beauty Secrets, Kelly, TCM with Ava Bryceco, Lois, Tia, Victoria with The Sacred Prayer, Valerie, Stacy with Firewick with Me, Linda, Rhonda, Smadar, Duchess Luxury Creations, Juliet, Carla, Crystal with Indigo Scents Candle Co., Anika, Kim with Kimberly's Candle Co., Kim, Angelic, Tia, Chris, Miss S, Shakira, Tiffany, Kim, BN, Lizette, Chandra, Pat, Chickadee Company, Tara, Indigo, SJ, Gina, Emily, Sandra, Heidi, Sunday, Michelle, Lisa, Angela, Kelly, Angela, Natalie with Walter's Wicks, Sherry, Cynthia, Denise, Sonia, Natasha, Elisa with Aziza's Closet, Edward, Shambless Candles and Soaps, Sabina, Raphael with Alondra's Candle Co., Desi, Kim, Abby Lane Candle Co., Christina, Tommy with Rosencrown Soap, Tara, Joy, Katie, Diane, Kelly, Judith, Sherry, Diane, Courtney with 17 December's Candle Co., Stacy, Yvette, Teresa with All About Serenity, Janetta, Monica, Nick, Tim, Diane with Totifor, Anne, Jennifer, Michelle, Maria, Sarah, Alex, and Rusland with Hers and Hers Candle Co. Your support is deeply appreciated.